Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. So, this video is the first episode of a new series I am doing called Retro Spotlight. I will try to do one or two of these a month, but the purpose is to talk about something from my past I got lots of joy out of. It could be a video game or movie, possibly even an anime or cartoon, but I will go over my personal experience plus my thoughts with it and how I came across it. So, without further delay, let's talk about Golden Axe. So, there are many different ports of this game, but I will be mainly talking about the arcade and the Sega Genesis version because those are the platforms I experienced this game on. My introduction to this game started when I was in my early teens while me and my family were on a road trip. While we were on our way back home, we stopped off at a hotel, and since we had time left in the day, me and my brother decided we wanted to go use the hotel swimming pool. As we were walking down the hallway towards the pool, we passed a small little room with some pinball machines and one arcade. I looked over there, and there it was in all of its glory, Golden Axe. We kept going, but at that point, all I could think about was that first glimpse I saw. Big bold letters that said Golden Axe and what looked like gameplay of lightning striking down on the screen. I, of course, later on learned that that was Gilius Thunderhead's magic attack, but we'll get into that. So we were at the pool maybe 5 minutes, and I just told my brother, I'm like, man, I have to go play that game. It will not leave my head. He was feeling the same way because he saw it too. So he's like, yeah, let's go. We already had a bunch of quarters with us in case we wanted to get something from the vending machine, so there was no problem there. Yeah, we never bought anything from the vending machine. Once we got there and realized it was two-player, our entire evening went to that. We played it so much that our parents freaked out looking for us because we were supposed to be at the pool and that's not where we were. When they finally did find us, we of course had the nerve to ask our dad, hey, can we have some more quarters? And of course, this is after we already got into trouble. But that's pretty much the backstory of how I discovered the game, so let's go ahead and talk about the game itself. So, one of the things that kept popping in my head was the movie Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have always loved fantasy and the sword and sorcery genre. I remember my dad bringing home the VHS tape, and we would watch that thing a lot. Yeah, I know I should not have been watching that movie as a kid, but my dad was just cool like that. What can you do? But anyway, back to Golden Axe. Golden Axe very much had that same feeling to me as that movie did. It did not dawn on me until much later on that some of the sounds that you heard in the game sound very, very similar to the enemy screams that you heard in the Conan the Barbarian movie. Later on, when I did see an interview with Makoto Uchida, he did mention Conan the Barbarian was a huge inspiration for him, so I think it stands to reason as the player I was meant to have that same feeling and think back to that movie. Alright, so there were three different main characters to choose in this game. Axe Battler, the barbarian character, who you can clearly tell is inspired by Conan. He wields a sword and uses earth-type magic. You also have Tyrus Flare, the Amazon, who also uses a sword, but she plays slightly more faster pace than Axe Battler and does a bit less damage. But to make up for that, she has the biggest magic meter in the game and uses fire as her magic type. Then you have Gilius Thunderhead, the dwarf, who has the least amount of magic ability, but he uses an axe and he does the most melee damage. Now, my group of friends, everyone liked playing as Gilius. I usually preferred playing as Axe Battler or Tyrus. And I think most of that just had to do with I always preferred the sword as a weapon over the axe. So the basic backstory to this is the three heroes are going out on a journey to stop a villain known as Death Adder, who has taken over the land and kidnapped the king and queen. Now, there is a bit more lore involved, but I'm just going over the basic premise here. Along the way, you encounter all types of enemies and beasts. Now, speaking of the beast, on occasion you will come across an enemy riding a beast. You can knock them off and start riding them yourselves. This can give you an advantage depending on what it is. You have the cockatrice, which we just called the chicken. You can dash at enemies or swing your tail and knock them down. This beast was also an enemy in the game Altered Beast, which was another game led by Makoto Uchida. You have the Blue Dragon, which can shoot flames downward at a close range. Then vice versa, you have the Red Dragon, which shoots fireballs going straight forward for distance attacks. Now, in other Golden Axe games, there's a lot more options of beasts you can ride, but for this video, I am just focusing on the original game. Later on, though, I may do videos on the other Golden Axe games. Now, the basic gameplay is similar to what you would find on a beat 'em up style game where you can go up and down on the screen as well as moving back and forward. The basic loop consists of moving forward until the group of enemies appear, clear them out, and then continue to move on. You can also pick up items such as magic potions and health along the way. Most of the time, you have to hit specific enemies for them to drop, and in some cases, you might find them laying on the ground. Now, the magic system is what gives this game some flair. Each character has a magic meter. Every time you pick up a magic potion, it goes up on the meter. You can use the magic anytime as long as you have some meter left, or you can save it up. The longer you let it build up, the more powerful the magic is. The magic is great in dire situations if you want to deal damage to every enemy on the screen at once. Whenever I played, I tried to wait until I got to the end boss of the level, but sometimes you just have to use it. The levels would get harder as you went, and the enemies would get tougher, requiring more damage to defeat. Now, in between levels, you would get to a campfire scene where gnomes would steal your magic potions, and you had a chance to hit them to gain them back, plus more if you could hit them enough times before the scene ended. Some of them would drop potions, while some of them would drop food for health. The levels had tons of awesome scenery, from something you would see in a sword and sorcerer world, from saving a village to riding a giant eagle and dark castles. Some enemies would be really easy to downright annoying. I'm looking at you, skeletons. Enemies will also dash towards you as well and can knock you down or down pits. I have heard some people say the gameplay is a bit sluggish, and maybe by today's standards you could say it is a little bit, but I feel like that's what gives the game the charm that it has. Back when it first came out, it was a peak action game. For someone like me who loved sword and sorcery, you could not go wrong with this game. Even today, I will still load this game up and play it when I'm feeling nostalgic. Now, before I end this video, I have a few final things I do want to mention about this game. I remember when I got my Sega Genesis the first time, this was one of the first games I got when they ported it over. Sure, the graphics were not as good and flashy, but for those of us who played the arcade, this was the closest thing, and it was a dream. The nice thing is they even added an extra level at the end to give us more gameplay. Sure, this one you were limited on lives and continues because you couldn't pop quarters into the Sega Genesis, but it did give you a reason to continue to come back and try to beat the game. Overall, I have very many fond memories of this game, playing that first time with my brother and then later on at home with my friends on my Sega Genesis. There were so many more Golden Axe games to come later, and like I said before, I will touch on those at a later time, but their original game still holds a special place for me, and it's the one I go back to and play the most. But that is my experience with the Golden Axe game. I hope you enjoyed this first in my series of Retro Spotlight. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I look forward to doing more of these in the future. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, and I will see you in the next one.